Interviewing Bobby Hanig, representative from North Carolina, and seeking re-election. Bobby, who you running against?
I'm running against Rob Rollison.
I don't know him. Where's he from?
He lives in Kill Devil Hills. That's all I know about him.
Have you seen him personally?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We stood at the polls a couple times for early voting.
What's his background?
I think it's a miscellaneous background. His parents were in real estate, and I think he worked in that for a while. Then he went to an appraiser,
Real estate appraisal school?
Yeah, not a school, but like he was an intern or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he ever got his license for that.
So what gives him? What makes him think that he's got the capability to step up to a sitting incumbent?
You'd have to ask him that. When I talked to him about it, he said that because originally he was running for the 3rd congressional seat that Greg Murphy currently holds. And I asked him why he was primary. I mean, he said for name recognition, because he didn't have enough name recognition to run for the congressional seat. So that was the reason he gave me why he was running against me. I asked him, I said, well, what am I not doing? Am I not doing a good job? Or,
Mm-hmm.
He said, no, you're doing a great job. I was like, well, okay. Then unfortunately, he said, unfortunately, there isn't an empty seat, and this is a good way for me to get my name out there. And I said, well, okay.
Has he said anything about any consultants offering him money?
Offering him money?
To campaign contributions? That's what happened with Dan Forrest. Holly Grange was solicited by a consultant that claimed to have a lot of campaign contribution money in his pocket, and that was, he offered it to Dan. Dan didn't take it, so he went to Holly.
Haven't heard anything about that. At this point, he hasn't filed any of his filings yet. I think he's missed 3 of the filings that have been due since the campaign started.
So he's spending money rather than collecting it.
I guess so, but you're still supposed to report.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. The Board of Elections is going to fine him for that.
Oh yeah, substantially. And I don't understand that, why he hasn't done any of that. But if you go online, and I was just made aware of this yesterday. So if you go online and look up his filings, he filed a treasurer report that says his names and all that stuff on it, but it was incomplete, and the State Board of Elections sent him a letter, and he hasn't responded to the letter. So at this point, he's turned in no filings, no campaign contributions, no nothing.
What's your background, Bob?
My background is military after high school. Then I was a railroad mechanic, traveled all over fixing railroad equipment. Then I moved to the Outer Banks and was working heavy equipment and started putting in swimming pools, and kind of went from that to servicing pools, and worked for a management company for a while and service pools. And then I started my pool business in 2001, the Pool Guy. And then in 2004, I started Brindley Beach Vacations with Doug Brindley. And we started with 4 houses, and when I sold my shares, we had 650 houses in 2015.
I didn't know that you were associated with him. He's been very successful, second only to the Twitties.
Right. Yeah. It depends on how you gauge it, I guess. But yeah, very successful. We ran a good business. I still own my pool business. Service houses in Duck and Corolla still. Got a great crew who works for me and keeps things going so I can do what I'm doing. So very fortunate.
Well, because you entered the political scene quite by surprise. I mean, first getting elected to the county board of commissioners, then becoming chairman, I believe it was, wasn't it?
That's correct. They the day I got sworn in was the day they made me the chairman. So I spent 2 years being the chairman of the board of commissioners in Currituck, and what an amazing experience that was. But just jump right into the fire, and that's what I do. If I do something, I go all out. And the board at that time was in kind of a upheaval. You know, a lot of heads butting, and I didn't really have any friendships or anything like that with the commissioners or the new commissioners coming in. So they thought that I would be one that could pull everyone together. And
well, usually if you don't carry any baggage, that gives you the opportunity to kind of go down the middle without having to create, problems on either side.
yeah, and they knew that I didn't really have an agenda against anyone going in.
Yeah.
I just wanted to serve my district and serve the county. I mean, the Currituck's been great to me, and you got to give stuff back. So.
Well, I'm not trying to blow any smoke, but from what I hear, you're doing a pretty dang on good job. People really like you. What are the counties that are part of your district?
Currituck, Dare, Hyde, and Pamlico counties. And yeah, it's pretty much everywhere I've been, especially during the campaign. People have gone out of their way to tell me that I've exceeded their expectations. Not that they really had any expectations, but that I've done more than what they thought I could do. And I surprised myself a few times too. So. It's been pretty amazing as much as I've gotten done in my first year for sure. So pretty cool.
What do you see are the major challenges that are facing North Carolina at this time? We've got a pretty good tax situation here, notwithstanding some people's complaints about it. And there are some significant challenges. What do you think are among the top 2 or 3?
Well, I would say rural health care is a major issue for my district. That isn't something that can be fixed with the swipe of one pen. There is no simple solution to it. There has to be a holistic way to fix the health care in the rural areas. And if you start hurting the larger hospitals that contribute to the smaller hospitals, then you have a problem, because then they can't support the smaller hospitals. So it's very complicated, and it's going to take a lot of hard decisions on some folks to do the right thing and really come around for healthcare in rural areas especially.
Well, there was in fact a meeting. The Alpam had a meeting down in Williamston about a year and a half ago, and they had a fellow in there that. The gist of his presentation was that the hospitals are flush with cash, has that been your experience in what you've been working on?
I think the hospitals do really well, and having enough understanding about it at this point is, hospitals like a larger hospital in Greenville could make a really nice profit. Whatever that is, if it's $1 million, whatever it is, 20 million, whatever. But they also spend those profits to help the rural hospitals stay afloat, because rural hospitals don't make enough to keep the doors open. So they're subsidizing our rural hospitals. So if you put the big hospitals in a bind, they have less ability to subsidize the rural hospitals. So that's a problem. So, and understanding what they're trying to do, this was about the state employee health plan. And I had a conversation with Treasurer Falwell about it. And, the state employee health plan is roughly 750,000 people. And I understand what he's trying to do for the health plan, but the health plan has been in peril for 30 years and been underfunded for 30 years. And taking that one piece to fix the problem isn't sufficient. And that's what I mean by getting back to a more holistic way of attacking the issue. We need to look at our pharmacies. We need to look at our insurance companies. How much has my insurance gone up since Obamacare? That's another issue. So it isn't a one swipe of the pen. It isn't one thing fixes everything. You got to come at it from a bunch of different angles. So that was my issue with that. And it's like I told Treasurer Falwell, and I'll hold the flag for him. We need to get him reelected. He's doing a great job. I mean, he's right on it. There's no one better for that job than Treasurer Falwell. And but he's trying to fix a 750,000 people problem. Well, I represent 12 million, so we have a bigger problem than just the state employee health plan. So that's where I was coming from, and that's the conversation I had with him. Is he's looking out for 750,000, I'm looking out for 12 million. So
the scope of the problem is varied, of course. But the if the issue is trying to control costs, there's a there's a lot of doctors that are unable to treat lower income patients because the Medicare reimbursement rates are so low.
Yep.
And that trickles down, that flows all the way through the system from one end to the other.
Right.
I was talking to a lady in Dare County she's a property and casualty insurance agent, but she's also an insurance consumer. And she was looking around for alternative sources of insurance, and she found this company. And to her absolute shock and amazement, her insurance premiums were half what she was paying for in-state Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Wow.
Then her husband came across another carrier. And she had never had any medical complications of any consequence. He had, and this other carrier that he came upon ended up being considerably less than Blue Cross Blue Shield. Not as much of a reduction as what she had experienced, but a significant reduction. They were saving a lot of money in the tune of $150 to $200 a month on their health insurance. That's a big deal.
It's significant. And that's important, is you have to have that competition. If you don't have the competition, there's no reason to keep the prices down.
Well, that's what we've all, that's what we've been talking about for decades. When you get into the discussion of capitalism versus socialism.
Right. That's a whole. I mean, we could spend the whole day talking about that. So.
Oh, absolutely.
To me, you have to have transparency. Hospitals need to tell you ahead of time, or there has to be some idea of what you're paying for a service you're getting. I provide a service to my customers. They know how much the service is before I provide the service. So we don't have that in hospitals. That's an issue. Same thing with insurance. It's like an insurance company is only going to pay so much of what a hospital bill is. Well, how much of that are they paying? Do you know that ahead of time? You don't know that ahead of time. I mean, I've had that happen to me. I go to the doctor for this, and insurance is only paying 50% because of this reason or whatever. And people don't know what those reasons are. So they think, I've got an 80-20 insurance, so I'm going to pay 20%, and sometimes more than often that's not the case.
Well, the involvement of third-party carriers where individuals that derive the treatment never see the bill, and they don't know what's being paid, what's not being paid. As long as they're not paying, that's all they care about. Right. And so it's a very convoluted system.
It is. It's very complicated, and it's going to take a whole lot of brains smarter than mine to figure it all out. I can tell you that. So it's going to be an ongoing issue for a long time.
What's your biggest, I assume, to answer my own question, I assume that agriculture is your largest commodity here in your district.
It is.
What are your farmers telling you about how well they're doing in this economy?
Not so much in the latest economy. The tariffs are hurting a little bit. They're feeling the pinch of that at the beginning, but they're very optimistic that why we're doing it will bring them to a better place eventually. So that's been very positive.
The farmers have been pretty understanding so far from what I've seen.
Yeah, because farmers they know what's coming down the road. They feel like that's what's going to happen. So they're willing.
You've got a very interesting district with as much agriculture as you have, but you also have commercial fishing and other forms of
Tourism.
and tourism and so forth. You're kind of a catch-all in terms of what your economic base is.
I am. I would say I probably have the most diverse district in the state. You know, I have one tier 3 county in Currituck. I have a tier 2 that in Dare that should probably be a tier 3. Then I've got Pamlico and Hyde that, you know, suffer greatly because they don't have the benefit of tourism. You know, they have farming, and we need to help them. You know, aquaculture is coming around really well, so that's going to help Hyde and Pamlico counties. So we need to do what we can for them to help them.
You have any ambition for going further politically?
No, sir. I didn't have ambition to run for the House seat. I have to be honest with you. When redistricting happened, we had Senator Steinberg. He was doing a great job for us. We had a great relationship with him. When redistricting came around, you know, being the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, I started making phone calls to see if I need to meet up with who's my new representative is going to be. And the more phone calls I made, the more disturbing information I got. And the more I got, well, you know, we need to put somebody up against her to run. And eventually that wheel turned to me and said, you know, you're the one that can do it. And so here I am. So my interest is strictly for my district. Currituck, when I was the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Currituck was in a great spot, still in a great spot. The whole region's in a good place. And I felt a need to make sure that we didn't go backwards.
Currituck has had the benefit of Corolla and the Outer Banks to boost its tax revenues.
Right.
Without that, it would be a very different.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I tell people that all the time. You know, the issues we have in Currituck are good issues. You know, we're arguing about how wide to make the sidewalks. Right? You know, when you go 50 miles in, people are worried about how they can replace the roof on the school. It is a sharp contrast just 50 miles west of here.
Absolutely.
So we are blessed beyond belief to have what we have, and to keep that low tax rate. And you know, we don't have the lowest tax rate in the state. We have a 48-cent tax rate. Dare County has a 47 cents. But we have no municipalities. So we don't pay city taxes or any other taxes other than our real estate tax. So we're pretty fortunate.
But at the same time, economic development here is lagging. What you have is what you have, and I'm sure that there's a business or two that's opening up here and there. But I had an interview with Paul O'Neill for the County Compass, and it was a couple of years ago. And he said the problem that Moyock is essentially the center of the business center of Currituck
And the development.
And he said that they couldn't get a big box store to come into Currituck if they wanted to, because you had the big box stores in Nags Head or the Outer Banks. You had Walmart to the west in Elizabeth City, and you had big box stores across the Virginia line, and there was no reason for a big box store to be located in Moyock. You were kind of hemmed in by your surroundings.
Right. And that's still the case. You know, when you go to, we did the study when I was the chairman. We did the study on the hotel, feasibility study on a hotel coming here. That came back positive. We've put that out to several hotel chains, and no one's just taken the plunge yet, which is very surprising. Currituck's positioned itself to really have that economic growth. They've invested so much infrastructure in the COA, in their public safety building they're building now, pretty much the whole development area by the YMCA. That's primed and ready to go. And I think that will eventually trickle down. The trade zone expanding down into northeastern North Carolina helps quite a bit. It has stirred up a lot of interest in northeastern North Carolina. I-87 starting in 2027. Once people really see that start to move and the plans start to move forward with that, people will start investing more money in northeastern North Carolina for sure. There's no land left near the ports, so we're the next closest place. So it's coming. The Mid-Currituck Bridge is going to really spark a lot of business and industry on the mainland of Currituck, for sure.
When I ran for the North Carolina House, I think that I mistakenly opposed the Mid-Currituck Bridge purely on economic terms, and I didn't think that Currituck County investing that kind of money was going to get the return for it. But I think I was very short-sighted in that regard, because I think that one of the things that holds back people from coming to the Currituck Outer Banks is that it's just such a miserable trip to even get there.
It is, and that bridge isn't just going to help Currituck. It's going to help Camden. It's going to help Elizabeth City. You'll have more residences coming in that area. It helps Dare County, with their congestion issues. That's why Dare County's, so for that bridge. It just makes it better for everyone involved. Even people that are just going to Duck. If they don't have that traffic jam right there at the intersection of Highway 12, then it's that much more pleasant of a ride. I would sit in that traffic one time. I wouldn't come back. It's absurd.
It's absolutely amazing that the real estate market from Duck right on up into Corolla is as vibrant as it is, given the difficulties that people have to get to those properties.
Yeah.
And I think that if it wasn't for that, the economics of this area would be considerably different. So, but it's been a long time coming, and is still a good ways off.
Yeah, sure is. We've got the a record of decision last year, which was the biggest hurdle. Once we got that allowed the Turnpike Authority and everyone involved to start doing their planning and doing all the work, the preliminary work they have to do, which is still going forward. Of course, we'll have to deal with the SELC and that lawsuit, but that's typically it gets resolved out of court. There'll be some type of settlement, land swap or money or something, and that's typically what happens. And the Turnpike
But it's
Authority,
taken years. My God, and the Bonner Bridge example. My goodness.
Well, it's like I told folks that it's the Bonner Bridge expired in 1993, and it just opened last year. It takes 30 years to get a bridge built, which is absurd. The things you have to go through and the hurdles you have to get over to make it go forward are just ridiculous and cost the country, the state, the counties entirely too much money. It's just they need to find a better way to streamline that. And President Trump made that announcement maybe 2 months ago about speeding up the process for bridges and roads. You can do it without hurting the environment. So it's just become such a bureaucracy
but whether you're hurting the environment or not is all in the beauty in the eye of the beholder. The environmentalists that oppose these projects, then they don't give a rat's behind about that. They're just trying to slow the process down.
That's correct. You can use your environment and conserve it at the same time. So many environmentalists just have if you use it at all, then you're a bad person. You can use your natural resources, your waters, your creeks, your sounds, your oceans in a proper way and not hurt the environment. And we have the technology and we're able to do that. First thing you have to do though is understand it. If you don't understand your environment, then you don't know how to conserve it. So it isn't a point of being an environmentalist. It's a point of understanding your environment. And if you don't know that or understand that, then okay, well, why are the beach grasses eroding? Well, you count on people to learn that, to do that for you. And if you don't If you don't talk to those people and understand why it's happening, then you don't know how to move forward. You have to understand the whole picture.
Jobs is, are doing really well under the Trump economy, generally speaking. But do you find that there's job growth in this area, and what sectors do you attribute that to, if you do?
Well, everything's based on the economy here. If the economy's doing well, rentals do well. If rentals are doing well, real estate does well. If real estate's doing well, then the landscapers and all the companies that support all these houses and all these rentals, everyone does better. So it all goes hand in hand. The better the economy, the more houses rent, and everybody stays employed. And people are putting in swimming pools. They're making improvements to their houses. They're buying furniture. They're buying carpet. They're maintaining the homes better. In a down economy like in 2008, 2009, you really saw the property start to go downhill a little bit. The house that had the really nice landscaping around the pool area or around the front yard wasn't quite as nice anymore because they didn't put as much into it. So when things kick back up again, well, we can make this nice again, and we have more income to do that. So it all goes hand in hand. But yeah, I think job growth's been great here. I've said it a million times. In this region, if you're not working, it's because you don't want to work. It's out there. There's plenty out there for everyone.
Except during the winter.
Right. Right.
Which is what you have with the seasonal economy.
I don't think you'd be surprised, but a lot of people move here for that reason. I have a lot of employees that have been with the Pool Guy since I started, and they enjoy that. They enjoy going out for 7 months a year and making a bunch of money and then relaxing through the winter. They go to Costa Rica or go wherever they're going to go and go snowboarding out west or whatever they're doing, and that's the lifestyle they choose when they move here. So,
frankly, I hadn't thought of that. You had, you think about a typical employee looking for year-round employment, and I'm sure that there are some of those. But I never considered the possibility that some people were actually coming in seeking seasonal work and working hard and banking a lot of money so that they could have some leisure time in the off season.
Sure, it's a lifestyle. Some folks come and work here all summer, and then they'll go to the mountains and work at a ski resort. So it's all in what you want. And if you want year-round employment, you can find year-round employment. Not for everyone, but it's out there. And again, it's a lifestyle. So
one of the things, when I listen to people at the federal level talking about all the problems that the Trump administration is having with leaks and this and that and the other, it's all, it seems to be related to a bureaucratic establishment that thinks we were here before them, we'll be here after them, and we're going to do our own thing, and we're not going to follow what the administration wants to do. I think we have the same thing here in North Carolina. I work at the department. I work from home, but I have a job at the Department of Insurance.
Okay.
And the people at the Department of Insurance, the bureaucrats, run the Department of Insurance. Commissioner Causey is a good friend of mine. I love him to death. But the bureaucrats have a mentality that they are the department and that he's just a figurehead that will come and then he'll eventually go and then they'll still be there. So in the context of all this, I'm saying if the president can reform the hiring and firing practices at the VA, for God's sakes? Why can't he do it throughout the rest of the federal bureaucracy? And why can't we use that example here in North Carolina to gain some efficiencies? We got people, I know people that just sitting around working hard to find out how little they can do.
I think the two words government and efficiency don't go hand in hand by no stretch of the imagination. I don't know why you can't fix it, but even at the federal level, you can only fix one thing at a time. There's only so many hours in a day, and you tackle one big problem and move on to the next one. So I don't know how you approach that, and how you eat an elephant.
Well, I mean,
one bite at a time, right?
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
That's the question I'm to be asking Dan Forrest. When I see him, if all government takes in money. Mm-hmm. They don't have any money that they don't take from us. And if we don't get some control over get some efficiency in the system, and stop department heads from hiring people just to create a network underneath of them that pushes them up in the rankings. And if we don't do those things, you will eventually get to the point where you can't save enough money to fund the continued operations of a rising cost of government, and you can't tax people anymore either.
Right.
And so how do you get to that sweet spot? You've got to get some efficiency, right, and get rid of dead weight.
Right. And that comes down to your beliefs. Conservatives feel like we need less government, we need less bureaucracy, and Democrats feel like you need more. Let's create another department to do this. Let's create another department to do that. Or we think the opposite. So, how do you start by doing that? You start getting rid of liberal or Democrat-controlled entities, and you start putting conservatives in there that, know what it's like to run a business, know what it's like to be efficient, and can see waste right away. That's how you start.
If you've got to, this is what socialism is all about. Among other things, it is, what is, a big government spreading the wealth out, taking from rich people and spreading it out, and income redistribution and all of that. Well, that's where we're not there, but it's not unreasonable to believe that we're going to get there if we don't get control over taxes on the one hand and spending on the other.
That's correct. I totally agree. We're one election away from that. I really believe that. You see it on a day-to-day basis. You see it more at the federal level because that's what you see on TV, but you see it at the state level as well. There's people out there that would just bring you in. We'll take care of everything for you. Just sit back and relax, and that's scary.
Any time government can give you something, they can take it away,
and they will.
Because
eventually they're going to run out of money.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
They're going to run out of other people's money.
Margaret Thatcher said.
Right. That's right. She did say that. So yeah, it's like okay. So I started a business. I mortgaged my home to get my business off the ground, and I'm doing okay. Should I be penalized for that? Should I have to pay a higher amount of taxes because I took the risk and I took the chances, and I spent the 7 days a week, 12, 15 hours a day for a bunch of years to get to where I am? Should I now give that money to John because, he hasn't worked?
Well, as a matter of fact, it was very curious. I was talking to a gentleman the other day. He said that his daughter was very idealistic when she was in college. But when she got out of college and got into the workforce, then all of a sudden taking money from her and giving it to somebody that wasn't working didn't appeal to her anymore.
You got that right. When you gotta buy the groceries and pay for the light bill, it's a whole different perspective.
Absolutely.
For sure. So yeah, we gotta. This is an important election. I mean, I think people see it on the news and people are really understanding what could happen. And I hope they pay attention. I hope they get out to the polls and vote.
If we do not deliver a decisive, massive, and overwhelming victory to President Trump, Bernie Sanders may not seriously make it in this election cycle. Although only about a year ago they were saying the same thing about Donald Trump, so you can't take anything for granted. But if he doesn't, there's no reason to think that we're not going to be facing a different situation in one or two, maybe three election cycles where a socialist has a real chance. I was astonished to see the results of a poll taken about your favorability to socialism. 67% of Democrats in favor, 45% of independents, and 17% of Republicans. I was astonished that any Republican would.
Exactly. Yep. That's a little scary. That's a little scary.
Scary and
misinformed or uninformed.
It's a serious. Socialism has been tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed. There are three reasons why socialism keeps coming back. One, that the capitalism creates winners and losers, and the losers don't like to be losers. Second is academia, and the third is that I can't remember exactly what that one was. I'm not having a brain freeze at the moment. But the bottom line is there are three basic causes of why socialism has been beaten down all over the world
and then resurrected.
Yeah. And there's a book by Terry Turchie. You know who he is?
I don't.
Terry Turchie was the director of the counterterrorism unit of the FBI back in the days when he was running down the Unabomber and Eric Rudolph, among others. And he has written a book called In Their Own Words, and it talks about Bernie Sanders and New York Mayor Bill de Blasio has been foisting socialism and or communism on us for a long time. The Black Panthers and the Weather Underground and on and on and on. So it's a very interesting dichotomy that we love our freedom, but then we seem to be so willing to give it up.
Right. For really nothing. Anytime
you can take money from one person and give it to another, that creates jealousies and a lot of other natural human emotions.
Sure. If you keep taking away from people that create jobs, they get to a point, well, why do I need to keep creating jobs? It's just costing me more money. I don't know how to really explain that any better.
Absolutely.
So
sure.
You just can't let that happen.
This has been a very interesting discussion, and your I hope you do continue to do well in the legislature. I hope you stay there a long time.
Me too. I've got several things that I'm already working on for the 2021 session. A couple of veterans issues and a couple of local issues that I want to get working on. So,
What service did you serve in?
I served in the Army.
So did
Yeah.
I.
Okay, I was tank mechanic. Yeah. So,
I came out of the Army in 1965 off of active duty. And I had no idea what I was going to do with my life at that point. I went to work for J.C. Penney in the men's department, and I realized I didn't like that worth a hoot. And I just fell into a job with a small two-man independent adjusting firm, insurance adjusting firm in Norfolk, Virginia. And 50 years later, it's been a good ride. But I can honestly say that when I went into the Army, I was a boy, and when I came out, I was a man.
Yep. I don't know of anyone that didn't benefit from military service. I can tell you that. I know I did.
Me too.
Absolutely. So
it's been a pleasure.
yeah, thank you, John. I appreciate the time. Really.
Thank you.